the Sizzlin Siegel Show, the only place to catch a correct opinion on life. Kicking off today is the big news segment. I can't think of what the right word is there. Segment sounds wrong. If you know the word I mean, please put a comment down below and you'll stand a high chance of winning this week's prize. Back to the big news segment. First up, the Occupy movement. As you will probably know, there is an ongoing protest from the 99% to stop corporate greed. And there have been a number of large protests. For instance, Occupy Oakland, Occupy NYC, and so on. But one you probably wouldn't have heard of is the Occupy Plymouth movement, which consists of 10 or so tents gathered just outside the centre of Plymouth in the southwest of England, not really doing much. They've got banners and an information tent with a desk. How did they get a desk in a tent? That's the most shocking thing about it, in my opinion. It just makes me think, if you're going to protest, make sure you actually believe in what you're protesting about. And not just that, but be prepared to fight, not just carry on doing what you're usually doing, flashing some posters and flags which you've spray painted anarchy logos onto. The reason nobody's taking this protest seriously is because most of the people involved probably live in tents anyway. They've just found an excuse to get on TV and annoy some people by making the park muddy and generally being in the way. Moving on, a week or so ago, a video named My Tram Experience hit the web. If you haven't seen it, there's a link down below, and it basically captured a white British woman sprouting extremely disgustingly racist bullshit at what she calls a tram full of people not from her country. And people from all over the world stood up and said, "We're not going to take this." Many people have made video responses accusing this woman being completely racist, of course. The reason that I'm bringing this old news back up is because racism is never old news. And it's absolutely great that she's been arrested, I think taken away from her child, which was sitting on her lap the whole time she was making this speech. And it got me thinking, there is no point in being racist, because we're all going to die anyway. Now for more important happy tech news. T-Pain has just released an app into the Mac App Store called the T-Pain Engine. Following the great iPhone app I Am T-Pain, which you just sing into and it auto-tunes your voice as you were T-Pain, and it's really cool. And for anyone that does not have the opportunity to use a professional recording studio on demand, I highly recommend trying it out. It's tons of fun, whether you're serious about your singing and rapping or you just want to have a great laugh with friends or on your own. Unfortunately, if you have a BlackBerry or PC, this genius is not available to you just yet. But I guess it's your fault. Apple is king. Nice coffee. Now this may offend some of the more geeky / wrong viewers, but I got this the other day. Controversially, I have to class it the most average game of the year.
The most average game of the year.
You spend most of your time either saving the game, going through doors, or running around like a headless chicken looking for quests. And when you finally find one, you die. And if you haven't saved it manually, which takes countless hours of time on its own, you go back to basically the beginning of time and you have to work your way back up from there. And then you can play the game again. The graphics are disappointing and characters are expressionless, which I thought would be no big deal, but really disconnects you from the action and the game. And on to bigger tech news. The iPhone 5 release date has been scheduled for the 10th of January. For you to go ahead and pre-order on New Year's Day, which is pretty cool. There is plenty more news out there for you to indulge in whatever you do with your news. I've included a link to the BBC News website for you below, where you can indulge in it all for yourself. What is symbol of indulging. Next week I'll be much more interesting, I promise. It's just this week's news isn't very interesting at all. Lastly, but not blastly, Linsey Lohan is probably in prison again, or not, just convicted of a crime that she doesn't have to pay for. That's not accurate information, but it's most likely true. This week's prize is BAM! A copy of FIFA 12, and all you have to do is rate, comment, and subscribe, and answer this week's question. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Anyway, I'll see you all next Tuesday. My name is Sizzling Siegel, and enjoy the rest of your week. This has been The Sizzlin Show.